Hello, I'm Dr. Nagra, a naturopathic doctor in Vancouver, BC, and I spend a lot of time here on social media debunking misinformation. So today, I'm going to respond to a clip that was recently posted by Paul Saladino, also known as Carnivore MD, and in this video, he lists off reasons that vegans and vegetarians should be eating meat, and why meat eaters should be eating even more meat. So let's take a look.
This is why you should eat meat. If you're eating meat, this is why you should eat more meat. Animal meat and organs contain many essential nutrients that are critical for optimal health that are simply not found in significant quantities in plant foods. Nutrients like creatine, carnitine, anserine, taurine, riboflavin, biotin, vitamin B12, vitamin K2. The list is long.
So Paul claimed that all these nutrients were essential, but that's not true. Only 3 of them are actually essential: vitamin B12, riboflavin, and biotin. The other nutrients are non-essential, meaning we don't need to consume them in our diet to survive because our bodies produce them. Now that doesn't mean they can't provide any benefit, but it also doesn't mean that meat is the ideal source. But more on that later. You'll also notice he didn't cite any references, so I'll go ahead and show you the science myself. Starting with the 3 essential nutrients, vitamin B12 is very important. Deficiency can be serious, resulting in anemia, neurological issues, and more, but that risk can easily be overcome by taking a supplement, which is critical for those who are eating a strictly or almost strictly plant-based diet. Now, for those of you who think that the simple need for a supplement makes a dietary pattern inferior, let's conduct a thought experiment. Let's say there are 2 diets, Diet A and Diet B. Now, Diet A provides all of the nutrition you need, but also tends to result in a shorter life and a lower quality of life. Diet B, on the other hand, provides most of what you need, but you do need to supplement 1 or 2 additional nutrients, but you also tend to live a healthier and longer life. Which one do you choose? My guess is that most of you would have chosen Diet B, meaning that the need for a supplement doesn't make or break whether a diet is healthy, and a diet that includes supplements can be healthier than one that doesn't. With that, I think we can move on. It's odd that he suggested that plants aren't a significant source of riboflavin, or vitamin B2 as it's also known, since even just 1 ounce of almonds provides about a quarter of an adult's daily needs, and fortified breakfast cereals or oatmeal can provide around 100% per serving. Not to mention fortified nutritional yeast can provide several times your daily requirement in just 1 tablespoon. With biotin, we see a similar story. Tempeh, which is fermented soybean, can easily provide the recommended amount in a single serving, and hazelnuts, sunflower seeds, oatmeal, peanuts, and peanut butter can be great sources as well. What's more interesting is that the adequate intake, which is the amount that's recommended to consume daily, is based on the amount present in breast milk and extrapolated to adults based on changes in body weight. We actually don't know how much is needed for adults, and deficiency is very rare. We also do have research looking at biotin status in vegans, vegetarians, and omnivores, and vegans do not have impaired status. In fact, a study out of Switzerland in 2017 that compared the nutrient status of vegans, vegetarians, and omnivores found that there were no significant differences in biotin, riboflavin, or vitamin B12 status between the groups. So it doesn't appear that the science is on his side here. It's no secret that creatine can help improve muscle mass and strength, and there's some weak evidence suggesting that it can help with cognitive function as well, but if those who are avoiding meat are suffering because of it, surely we see poorer athletic and cognitive function in vegans when compared to meat eaters. But that's not the case at all. The research comparing active vegans or vegetarians to meat eaters consistently suggests they perform similarly or sometimes even a bit better than the meat eaters. And a study evaluating cognitive function found that meat eaters and vegetarians performed similarly prior to supplementing with creatine, with the vegetarians performing better than the meat eaters afterwards. Regardless, both meat avoiders and meat eaters can benefit from supplementing, and it's unclear if vegetarians can benefit more than meat eaters. And one of the reasons for that may be that the amount of creatine found in meat is tiny, and you'd have to consume over 2 pounds of meat per day to get the same amount of creatine provided by supplements. So typical meat eaters aren't even getting that much. Now, Paul may want to claim that carnivores would have superior performance to vegans because some are eating several pounds of meat per day, but I'm not aware of any studies comparing the 2 groups, and based on his lack of references, I don't think he has either. Carnitine is produced in sufficient amounts in our bodies, and research comparing carnitine levels between meat eaters and strict vegetarians who are consuming either 100% or nearly 100% plant-based diets suggests that vegetarians can maintain adequate carnitine status. Furthermore, a randomized controlled trial in which omnivorous women either continued with their meat-inclusive diet or were placed on a vegetarian diet for 6 months did not find any significant differences in carnitine levels. There's very little data on Anserine, and most of what's out there actually combines Anserine with other supplements and looks at either physical performance or cognitive function. However, even if we grant that Anserine could improve both physical performance and cognitive function, once again, those who avoid meat don't seem to have deficits in those departments. And the doses of Anserine used in the studies would be equivalent to eating well over 20 servings of beef per day, although chicken does contain far more. So it's not even realistic for red meat eating carnivores to be getting much at all. Now, taurine has been shown to promote modest improvements in endurance performance, but again, the doses that are used in the studies are equivalent to over 15 servings of beef or anywhere from 3 to 20 servings of dark turkey meat. And if anything, vegans and vegetarians who don't eat any meat already perform as well or even better than meat eaters in some studies. The last micronutrient to discuss is vitamin K2, which may sound a bit more familiar to a lot of you, although it too is not essential. Vitamin K1 is the essential nutrient, which is found in abundance in dark leafy greens. Vitamin K2 is found in fermented foods and animal foods and is produced by both our gut microbes and by the conversion of vitamin K1 in our bodies. Dietary sources of vitamin K2 typically contain one of two types. There's MK4 and MK7. Now, MK4 is the predominant type found in animal products, which typically contains little to no MK7, but what's funny about that is we actually can't absorb much MK4 at the amounts present in almost all foods. You need supplement doses that are several times higher than what is found in animal foods, and even 10 times the RDA to absorb significant amounts. The only animal food I'm aware of that could provide enough if you were consuming exorbitant amounts of it is goose liver. On the other hand, we can absorb MK7, which is the main form found in natto, another type of fermented soybean, and natto is actually the highest source of vitamin K2, and it's a plant. So even when it comes to the non-essential nutrients, it doesn't look like the science is on Paul's side once again, and even if someone wanted to increase the intake of any of these nutrients, there are supplements for that. We don't need to get them from meat, and meat often doesn't even contain the amounts that would be beneficial. However, I'll note that you should speak with your healthcare provider before starting any of these supplements, of course. Now let's move on to the one nutrient we haven't covered yet.
We also know your body can use and absorb the protein from animal foods much better than what's in plant foods. And adequate amounts of protein are essential for muscles, for growth, for recovery, for longevity, and for resilience against injuries. Meat is one of the most vilified foods on the planet today, but along with organs, it is absolutely one of the most nutrient-rich and essential for optimal human health.
Now this is an easy one. If it were the case that animal protein was so superior to plant protein, we should see that those consuming strictly plant protein have a harder time gaining muscle or strength compared to meat eaters. Well, in 2021, Brazilian researchers published a study where they enrolled a group of meat eaters and vegans and had them consume the same amount of protein, which was 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, for 12 weeks while participating in a resistance training program. After those 12 weeks, both groups achieved similar muscle and strength gains, which should hopefully put that argument to rest. What should be obvious is that the key is to eat enough protein, whether it's from animals or plants. But Paul goes further to suggest that protein is important for longevity. Well, the largest meta-analysis on protein intake and all-cause mortality, which is the total risk of death during a given study period, does suggest that higher protein intake is beneficial, but it's the plant protein that appeared to provide the significant benefit, not the animal protein. In fact, several analyses have found that replacing a serving or even less of animal protein per day with plant protein sources can reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease and other health outcomes, particularly when the animal protein is coming in the form of red meat. So to revisit something I said earlier, just because meat does contain some nutrition does not mean it's the ideal source, and certainly doesn't mean we should be eating as much as possible. Anyway, I hope you found that informative, and for more content like this, please subscribe to Plant-Based News, follow me on Instagram or whatever social media platform you use at Dr.Nagra, and check out some more resources I have on my website, which will be linked in the description below.